Hi, I'm Brom. You're watching Buy and Hold Fundamentals, where I do a shallow analysis and initial analysis of 20 properties every day, trying to determine whether any of them are worth an additional look. Today's episode, at least while I was recording today's episode, my browser started screaming at me that it had been infected by a virus, and if I didn't call the 1-800 number, everything would be encrypted and lost. And of course, I was being told not to turn off my computer, so I did what any sane human being would do, and I turned off my computer, and then, after much cursing, spent 3-4 hours running an antivirus. Everything's fine, but I did lose some of the recording. I'm not going to run you through everything that I already managed to do that didn't get lost off of my Excel sheet, so we save ourselves that. Numbers 42 to 47 already there, and we're going to continue from where I lost the data. Okay. So we're back to looking at Carmel, Indiana. I actually don't need that, and I don't need that because I already have it. We're back to looking at Carmel, Indiana. Previously, we've looked at Fairlawn in New Jersey, and I think what we found, I'm all over the place. What we found was that very difficult to get anything to cash flow there realistically. So instead, we're looking at a similar type of town, but in Indiana, and seeing what we find here. So I've taken the purchase price, I've assumed a 1% rent ratio, and I'm looking at the taxes and seeing what comes out. So cash flow is at 4 and 18, and cash on cash is at 5%. Back here, and let's look at the next one. A little bit of deja vu for me because I just did all this stuff. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Grab the price, stick that in there, assume a rent ratio of 1%, and go to the analysis tab. One of these days, guys, I'll run you through my sheet and explain what I'm doing there. But for now, we're just analyzing. Taxes, $2,700. And we're getting 129 cash flow and 3%. Next. The way I'm making my way through this town is sort of using their grid, which makes it easier. That way I know what I've covered. Zillow does keep a track of what you've looked at, but I don't know exactly how it works, but at one point or another it loses track, so I wouldn't count on that. That's going to be sure. 11,715 rent. You might think, why look at an outlier like a mansion like this? But it's part of the landscape and part of your market, so you might as well get that into your sheet. I'm going to assume $12,000 in. Not $12,000. $12,000 in taxes. We're still making $1,500 in cash flow at 6%. What did I say? 1,500, right? Yeah. Really, what we're trying to do with this initial look is starting to gather data on this town. I'm sure there's ways of doing it quicker, but especially when you're starting out, And especially when you're having a first look, just the act of going through this and spending the time it takes in order to gather all this data will familiarize you with this market. And if you want to find places that are worth buying, if you want to find a deal, you're going to have to do the legwork. No getting around it. 4,000 in taxes. And we're making 426 at 4%. On to the next one. To stick the address in here, go back for the price. Stick that in there. Alright, assume rent of what percent. Let's see if we got anything on taxes. Slurp some coffee. Okay. There we go. Stick that in there. And what we got? 540 and 5%. Next. That goes in there. Up. Grab that. Stick that over there. Right, we want to see if there's any tax info. There is 340. Make that 4,000. And we're making 533. What do we say? 6%. Right, okay. Let's just get that in there, and we're off to the next one. Okay. And assume 2,000 in rent, and let's see what we get. 2,000, and we're going to look for taxes. There we go. 23, and we're making 150 bucks and 3%. Okay, next one. Let's see. Okay. Lower taxes, everything else is the same. Interesting. So, why would taxes be so different? A couple of reasons. The houses might be different sizes, but if they're not, it might just be a matter of when the last inspection happened for tax purposes. We're making 175. You'll often see 3%. You'll often see houses that have just gone through a rehab, which will be selling for prices where taxes are almost double, still having very, very low, not interested in land, very low tax rates. And that's usually due to the taxes not having been reassessed. So if you're looking for a place and you see that the tax rate is really, really low, look for something comparable and assume the higher tax rate, at least for your calculations. If that's still cash flows, that's great. Shoot. Can't talk and remember things at the same time. 37. What I was saying is that's great for an upside on your end, and as long as that isn't reassessed, that's money in your pocket, but you're going to have to assume that that's going to happen at one point or another, and you want to make sure you're still making money after they up your taxes to 70. The opposite's true as well. You might get a place where you're convinced that the tax assessment's incorrect, and you can get that adjusted, but until you do, you're going to have to assume that you have to pay those higher taxes. So, that's what I think, at least. Let's keep on going. Back to the mansions. Grab that. Okay, let's see, what can I get now? And now we're going to 4.5. Taxes were, geez, yeah. Cash flowing almost $1,200, 7%. But that's only because the rent ratio is never going to be that high. Let's go pick that up. I don't like when it gets messy. There we go. That's better. Okay. Now, why are we back here? Off to the analysis tab. Oop. Make that 2.5. Okay, we're gonna go and see if we got some tax info. My kids are screaming for food. 2,200. Now what are we getting? 282, 5%. And on to the next one. Okay. Okay. Grab a price. And assume 1%. Let's see if we got any information on taxes. Yep, 3,300. Stick that in here. Stick the asking price in here, and so 1%. We're making 150 bucks and 3%. Okay. Now we're going back. Grabbing the price. Checking the taxes, 2,200. Okay. And the taxes, and what do we get? $394 and 6%. Okay, next one. 330. We stick that over here. Assume 1% and go back, check the taxes. 2,800. Rent, we're getting $409 and 5%. 5%. Alright guys, it's another 20 houses we looked at today. I'm Bram, you've been watching Buy and Hold Fundamentals. I'll see you again tomorrow.